All right, so we're on our third class of today, recording Deciduous Forest, and you're going to be kind of surprised at how quick I have gone through Deciduous Forest today, and I will give you the reasons why. I go way back to it was like week 2. We had a question about Deciduous Forest on the morning work. And everybody's like, what's a deciduous forest? And we started talking about it. And I feel like since that day, the word deciduous forest has come up almost daily in class. Right? Especially this time of year. It couldn't be timed much more perfectly than right now. The deciduous forest is where we live. And Elishba, they love, oh my goodness, the test makers in North Carolina love to put things that you are around on the test. I would be blown away if you don't see something about deciduous trees or deciduous forest on end of grade tests. On the benchmark, maybe because they teach a whole bunch of other stuff on the benchmark too, for the first quarter benchmark. They do all the life sciences on the first benchmark, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But again, the deciduous forest is home to deciduous trees. These are the trees that lose their leaves in the fall, which is pretty much where we are now, right? Matter of fact, I'm heading up to the mountains this weekend to go look at some trees that are hopefully not losing their leaves, but changing their colors before they lose their leaves, which would be very fun to look at. And obviously in a deciduous forest, you're also going to have some coniferous trees. There are pine trees outside, like I've seen them, but there's more of the trees that lose their leaves around here than there are the others. We're not a taiga. We don't have a majority of coniferous trees. If you were to draw a picture of the seasons, what do we draw when we're showing fall or autumn? What do we draw, Bella? Orange, yellows, red leaves, some of those purple maple leaves that we might see out there as well. And again, we draw these colorful trees. And anybody in here that's in my small group, when we did deciduous trees, right, in our card game, that's what we drew. We drew a tree with no leaves, winter, a tree with a few green leaves, spring, a big giant blooming like green tree for summer, and then a tree with leaves falling off and colorful leaves for the fall. In a deciduous forest, how many times can we say this? The leaves fall off in the fall. That is an adaptation that the plants have in the deciduous forest to deal with the fact that we have 4 seasons. You can find it in many parts of the world. You do not have to memorize all these places. The one thing that I do need you to know, Arthur, we live in the deciduous forest here in North Carolina. Pretty much anywhere you go. I guess once you get super far into the coast, you might change, but there's still deciduous trees there. I mean, it's like the whole state. Probably the most important factor about the deciduous forest is we have 4 seasons: spring, summer, winter, and fall. These seasons happen. Why do I have 4 seasons in North Carolina, but Florida stays warm all year long? Why do I have 4 seasons in North Carolina, but Florida, which is really not that far away, has pretty much warm temperatures all year long? It's closer to the equator and that tilt of the earth, right? Where you are in latitude and longitude depends on the type of weather you have, and where we are, we have 4 seasons. And it's all because of, again, the tilt of the earth, which you can see right here is why we have those 4 seasons. Now, as I start to dig into this a little bit, I really probably should put deciduous forest before desert, which is what is first in these slides, but we did it backwards in here. Because look, following the rainforests, the deciduous forests are the second rainiest biomes. So you've got tropical rainforests and temperate rainforests, and they're just saying rainforests in general are number 1. Although I guess we would technically be third if you want to go tropical rainforest, temperate rainforest, deciduous rainforest, right? And we get about 30 to 60 inches of rain a year. And so I'm going to be honest with you kids, I really feel like we've been getting a whole lot more than that in North Carolina over the past few years. I know a little while back, when we were looking at this, we were actually beating out the temperate rainforest in Oregon and Washington as far as rainfall over the years. I'll get your question in just a second. Now, every week when we take a quiz, I look at you and say, my class average was an 87 today. Good job, right? Does that mean everyone made an 87? No, that means some people made hundreds. That means some people made 40s. But if you put all of those grades together and average them, you get the 87. And that's where this next bit of information comes in, because I'm going to say some things and you're going to say, that doesn't quite sound like what I'm used to in my deciduous forest. The average temperature in the deciduous forest is 50. All the deciduous forest, taking all the temperatures for all year long and averaging together, they say the average temperature is 50. I don't think that's probably true for us in North Carolina. I feel like if we averaged our temperature out through the year, wouldn't you think we'd be like in the 60s? Somebody can Google that while I'm teaching. Just one or two people. Just one or two people Google that, and we'll talk about it in a minute. This is the one where it's like, whoa, time out. This is not remotely correct. Summers are mild and average 70 degrees. I don't know what deciduous forest you're living in, but it's not 70 degrees here in the summer. You need to add about 30 more degrees to that because it's hot. Like, it's miserable during the summer. I do agree with this last sentence, though, for North Carolina. The winter temperatures are well below freezing. Yeah. Yep, that's true because it's cold in the wintertime. Hopefully we get some good fall weather this year. I'm enjoying that. I love October. I love the fall weather. It's one of my favorites. All right, the trees and plants. Now, I know I look at this and I say, holy cow, that's a lot of information, right? This entire slide, all it's saying, Kagan, is the trees have adapted to live in a place where it has 4 seasons and they lose their leaves in the fall. But then it goes on to explain a little bit about it. So, about this time of year, and I'm sure you've noticed, keep that question till the end, I promise. About this time of year, it starts to get a little cooler outside, right? And like my soul starts to smile a little bit because I say it's not miserable anymore. We're not going to have those days where there's heat advisories during recess. We actually can go outside. Now, it's about this time of the year, and it's number one, it's because of the temperature, and two, because of the amount of sunlight hitting the plants. The trees, and when I say they know it, it's not like a brain, but somehow they recognize, oh, things are changing. It's time to stop sending chlorophyll, which is the green stuff that helps plants go through photosynthesis. Stop sending that to the leaves because it's time for us to transition to fall. When it stops sending that green chlorophyll to the leaves, that's when we start seeing the real color of the leaf. Those orange and reds and yellows that we see outside. And it's pretty amazing when that happens. So in the winter, the tree kind of takes a nap. There's not enough intense sunlight to really fulfill all of its needs as far as photosynthesis goes, so it just kind of chills. And then when the sunlight starts to get intense again in the spring, guess what happens? The tree kind of cuts everything back on and starts growing again because it has adapted to live in the 4 seasons of the deciduous forest. Animals of the temperate deciduous forest. Now, I'm not going to sit here, and I didn't even do it on the notes. I'm not writing out the animals that live here. You know there's no giraffes. You know there's no lions. But if somebody says squirrels, deer, and raccoons, cha-ching, that sounds like stuff I've seen in my backyard before. Like, let's use common sense. Are there bears in the deciduous forest? Yes. Maybe not too many around here, but they're here. Most definitely. Right? Owls. Absolutely. Toucans. No, they live in the tropical rainforest. It's really, this part's kind of easy, and I don't think I need to spend a lot of time on that because you already know the animals that live near you. If you're going to live here, though, you have to adapt to 4 seasons. So let's pretend I'm a squirrel and it's summertime. Life is great in the spring and the summer for a squirrel. There are leaves everywhere, new things growing for me to eat. Predators can't see me too good in the trees because of all the leaves, right? And I'm very happy if I'm a squirrel. The earth keeps doing its thing and it starts to get, to where it is on the sun that all of a sudden the sun's not intense and the leaves start to change color. The squirrel gets up and says, hey, all my leaves are falling on the ground. The owls and the hawks are going to have a better time seeing me now, but if I'm not mistaken, this also means that it's about to get cold and all the leaves are going to be gone. I got to get to work today. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to gather up all these acorns. I'm going to eat some. I'm going to bury some for later in the wintertime, right? Store some in the tree with me because it's that time of year again. Then winter hits and the squirrel gets a little bit thicker fur coat. Don't we all put on our jackets in the wintertime? If you have a dog, especially if you have a golden retriever, and believe me on this one, at the end of summer, when Sherlock decides it's time to change his coat from his summer coat to the winter coat, he sheds all this fur from the summer coat, which keeps him nice and cool to build this nice thick fur coat on. And a lot of animals do the same thing as well. They get a thicker fur coat in the winter, and then they shed all that off in the summertime so they can stay cooler. Some animals decide, you know what, I don't like this cold weather. They're like old people. They leave and go to Florida for the whole winter. See you later. I don't like it's cold. I'm going down there where it's warm, and I can hang out all day and continue to wear shorts and flip-flops and not have to worry about snow. Because y'all know that we can't drive in the snow for nothing, right? You come to school on a snow day, it's like 15 cars like over in the ditch. It's like, it's not even on the road. What are you doing? Learn to drive, people. I don't blame them for leaving. Some things say, you know what, forget all this. I'm just going to sleep through the winter. I don't have time. That's too long of a drive. I'm just going to take a long nap. So the bears up on Beach Mountain right now, what are they doing? They're eating like crazy to get a lot of fat stored up on them, to get their fur coats stored up. They're going to soon find their place, and they're going to hibernate through the winter. Because it's too cold, too brutal, not enough plants, and a lot of the other animals that are moving and leaving, so they don't have a lot of food sources left. They take a nap throughout the whole winter. So that's another thing that you might do. So again, you know the animals, you know the adaptations. Honestly and truthfully, Kaylee, the big thing about deciduous forest, 4 seasons, the trees lose their leaves. The rest of the stuff, I think you probably already know. I'm not going to go to the next slide because that'll make us play the game, but I am going to open the whiteboard so you can take some notes. We'll scoot this up here. I'm going to do it in orange because if it'll let me. Scrolling on over. Scroll that on down. And click off of it. No! What is that? Please don't do that again. I'm going to close the whiteboard. I'm going to open the whiteboard. And there it is. All right. So if you're at home taking notes, get these notes down for the deciduous forest. And that will be it for today. And so the kids don't kill me, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe. Click the notification bell so you know that Mr. Bones taught another lesson. That'd be awesome. Because I really keep up with all that. And